Let me read for you Psalm 139, beginning in verse 23, these two verses. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts, and see if there's any hurtful way in me, and lead me in the everlasting way. If you were to look at the world today and ask, maybe, or even come to the conclusion that we're living in a very troubled time, you would be correct. If you were to say that we're living in a time that is unprecedented, I would say to you that you're incorrect. The world is, in fact, the Bible gives us the history of this. The world has always been a complex and very messed up place. The text that I read to you just a moment ago really reminds us of that. The Bible tells us in the Word of God, in this particular case, David, who is probably one of the greatest, if there's a person you could study in the Bible in the Old Testament, I would recommend studying the life of David. In the New Testament, I would recommend you to the Apostle Paul. Those would keep you busy for some time. But David's life really is quite the story, isn't it? Even how he was called out by God, all that he complicated, the things he went through, complicated different series of things he went to ultimately become the king. And when he became the king, he did three really important things. He unified the nation, which was very, very important during that time. Militarily, he had no one that was even close to like him. You remember when Saul got so jealous of him because they would come back from battle and the people would yell, they'd say, praise Saul, he killed his thousands, but praise David, he killed his tens of thousands. And so he actually was a military leader more than anything. And so when he became the king, he obviously did away with any enemies they had. Can you imagine waking up one day, the king of a nation, and you know there's nobody even thinking about taking you on because you have done away with all of your enemies. And interesting or not, he also, in commerce, had made the nation profitable when it came to the way that they did trade with other nations and stuff. So he had really gotten that place just clicking on all cylinders. And yet the words I just read to you come from a place in time when David absolutely was presiding over a mess. And I don't know if you could come up with a better word to describe the United States today than a mess, but that's a pretty good word for it. It's a we're in a mess, but it is not unprecedented. We've been here before. So here's the question. How did David respond to that? It's one thing to say, well, here's the facts and the figures, and here's what's happened, and he did all these really good things, but now he finds himself over a nation that is really, really messed up. How messed up was it? Well, we're told that the masters hated the slaves, and the slaves hated the masters. We're told that the people blamed the government, and the government blamed the people. Does that sound like today at all to anybody in the room? The nation is at a crumbling point, a place of great, a very tragic place to be, a place where it's about to split apart. What did David do? As the leader, what did David do? And I'm going to share with you in this moment, this passage of Scripture tells us that what David did was he threw himself on the mercy of God. We all know the laws about leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership, doesn't it? And David understood that it had to start with him. If there was going to be a change in the nation, if we're going to turn back as a nation, it's going to start with me. And I want to share with every man in this room, and I know this sounds old-fashioned, somebody may get upset at me and send me an email, but I do believe the Bible says that the man should be a spiritual leader in his home. In fact, he should be the spiritual leader in his home. That it all works better that way. It's not to say that women don't matter. Everybody matters. But the role of the father is to be the spiritual leader in his home. And rarely do we find that as a nation, and therefore we are reaping what we have sown as a nation. And so I would simply say this: if this nation, the United States, is going to turn back off this terrible path that we're on right now, it'll start with you, and it'll start with me, and it'll start with you, and I believe it'll start with the men in this room. So no day like Father's Day to think about the role of a father. So David understood if he's going to change this nation, it's not going to be when he points his finger at somebody else, but it's when he points his finger at himself. And that's what we see, the self-evaluation that takes place in this particular text this morning. And so fathers in the room this morning, you need to understand something. You have a big role to play, a very important role to play. And you will only be successful in the role of a father if you submit yourself completely to Him as Lord. And today we're going to talk about what that looks like for everybody in this room. No matter where you are, how far you've walked away, how close you might be, it doesn't matter. Today, if you'll just follow the things that I'm going to share with you this morning, I think we'll see through the way that David responded to his mess, how we can respond to our mess and find victory in that. Does that make sense? Because at the end of this morning, I want to make sure every man in the room understands how you can be the man you were designed to be. God created you to be everything He ever designed you to be. That's my prayer. And we're going to do it by looking at this text this morning. And so, how did he respond? Well, let's look at exactly and see how he responded. Number one, write this in your notes if you will. He said, number one, Lord, examine me. He said again, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts. He first of all says, search me. Interesting. If you'll write this in your notes, start with the man in the mirror. Start with the man in the mirror. Again, I can't stand here today and start pointing fingers at other people about why this nation is a mess and why fatherhood is such a mess in the nation if I'm not willing to point the finger at myself. Don Wilton, who was my seminary professor in preaching, always said, when you point your finger at someone else, there's three big fat ones pointing right back at you. And it is so true. You cannot even point your finger at someone else without pointing at yourself 3 different times. So the point is simply this, you've got to start with you. We could stand here all day, I could fill a chalkboard up with all the things we could call out that's a mess in our nation. And some related to the failure of men. I believe that with all my heart. But we got to start with us. You got to draw a circle around you. You got to deal with you before you can ever point the finger at anyone else. So the first thing he says was, Lord, examine me. He pointed the finger at himself. He started with the man in the mirror. He says, search me. Not search someone else. Not search those rascals over there. Search those ones that are doing this wrong. No, he says, search me. I want to ask you a question this morning, gentlemen. Are you willing? Do you have the courage? I'll use the word guts to pray this prayer. Are you willing to say, God, I want you to search me. I want to expose everything about my life to you. I want you to search me thoroughly. Examine who I am. Most of y'all know that I don't like to go to the doctor. I don't remember the last time I had a physical. Don't tell anybody, okay? Shh. I go to the doctor if I get sick, and I don't get sick very often. That's probably not the way to do this thing. I don't like it when I get examined by a doctor. I don't like it when they look at me and do this and do that. It's not a lot of fun, is it? It's not a lot of fun to say to God, God, I want you to examine me. Do an x-ray of who I am. Search me thoroughly. Are you willing to do that today, men? Because you'll never be the man that God's called you to be if you're not willing to expose yourself completely to the glory of His grace and His mercy. Number 2, write this down. Seek to be open to the Master. The first thing I got to do is absolutely ask Him to search me. Certainly, I got to start with the man in the mirror, but I got to seek to be open to the Master. He says, know my heart. I've used the word know. The word know is as common as anything else. Is dirt in the Scripture. It's everywhere. Gnosko, it's a word used often. This is not that word, though. It's a very different word. It's the word yada. Yada. And it literally means this. Listen, in the Hebrew, it means this: to know in a personal way and to hide nothing. Think about that. I used to say my mother probably knew me better than anybody else until I got married, because I've got all these embarrassing pictures that my mother took of us, not just in the bathtub, but how about this, standing up in the bathtub. Are you with me now? Can I get an amen from the congregation? I mean, Mama, don't ever show those to anybody else. Before I got married, no one knew me better than my mother, right? She birthed me. She changed my diapers. She fed me. She cut my hair my whole life. But I've been married now for 32 years, closing in on 33 years, the greatest years of my life. There's nobody on this planet that knows me better than Miss Tracy back there. We've lived together we actually live in the same house. We sleep in the same bed. We've known each other. We've gone through some unbelievable highs in life. We've had some unbelievable, wonderful things happen. We've been through some unbelievable lows and tragedies and hurts in our life and everything in between. And we're still together. We know each other better than anybody else knows. Listen, but God knows you even more. The Bible says that the first time you took a breath, God already knew the last time you would take a breath. How about that? It says He has the numbers of the hairs on our heads numbered. That's a really big feat with me. Can you get it? I mean, it's unbelievable. But He knows. There's not much up there, but He knows. God knows you better than you know yourself. And David is in this place of crisis. He's saying, God, I want you to search me. And I want you to search me thoroughly. I don't want to hide anything. It takes a lot of courage for a man to say that. Are you willing to pray this prayer? God, would you search me? Would you examine me? Number two, the Lord, he said, second of all, Lord, evaluate me. It takes a lot of courage to say, God, I want you to search me and see what's going on in my life, and then I want you to give me the evaluation. It's like, I'm glad to go to the doctor, and he said, come back in a couple of weeks and I'll give you the results of all the tests. I don't want to go back for that part, do you? Just mail it in. Just tell me it's all good. No. God, I want you to search me. I want you to search me thoroughly. I don't want to hide anything from you. Then I want you to give me your evaluation of what you see. That can be a really ugly thing, can't it? He's saying, God, I want you to search me, find any sin in my life, and evaluate that for me. Listen to what he goes on to say. He says, first of all, he says, try me. It's a really interesting word in Hebrew. It's the word bakan. Bakan. It literally means this: to test or to prove, to purify, to search out. And here's the real question this morning. Why would I do that? What would my motive be to say to God, I want you to evaluate me? It's one thing to search me, but God, I want you to evaluate. Why would I want him to do such a thing in my life? We'll write a couple of things down. Number one, read my motives. Read my motives. I've said this to you at least 1,000 times in 17 years. Let me say it one more time. The motive behind why you do what you do is more important than what you do. In other words, you can do all the right things for all the wrong reasons. Are you with me? Why you do what you do really does matter to God. I can say my prayers every day and read my Bible every day, and I can memorize scripture every day, and I can give money to the poor, and I can attend church and never miss a service and do everything I just said with an improper motive. So why you do what you do? So why would I say to God, God, I want you to search me, and then I want you to try me. I literally want your evaluation on what you see. And so the first thing is I want you to read my motives. Again, I want you to test me, to prove me, to purify me, to search me out. And so what is the proper motive for saying, God, I want you to search my life and look at me thoroughly? Why would I do such a thing? Well, here's what the Scripture says. Here's a proper motive. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7. The proof of your faith being more precious than gold, which is perishable, even though tested by fire, listen to this, may be found to result in praise and glory and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. I want to be a man clean before God for one motive, that it may shine the light on who He is, that it may glorify Him, not glorify me, right? Lots of people want to tell you, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Some friends came over and swam in our pool the other day. I was telling Tracy, it's been a long time since I've heard these words. And I know my little grandson's going to grow up here very soon. I'm going to hear these words, some precious words. They kind of got on your nerves years ago, but they've gone long enough now they won't get on my nerves. Hey, Daddy, watch this. And there were some folks around our swimming pool. One of the little girls there is not my daughter. She goes, hey, Pastor Phil, watch this. As she jumped off our diving board in our pool. And it's like, man, that's some good stuff right there, right? God, I want you to watch me and see me and search me. And I don't want to hide anything from you. And I want you to make me clean so that my life may point the direction to you, that people may see how awesome you are and how spectacular your grace is and what you can do with a wretched person just like me. That's why. I want my nation, David's like, I want my nation to be back where it needs to be with you, but I got to start with me because I know there's sin in my life, and so God exposed those things to me. Read my motives. Number 2, read my mind. Read my mind. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts. If there's a place in life where I really struggle, I've told you this before, is I'm pretty prone to worry. I just got to be honest with everybody. I can worry as good as anybody in this room. And it's not a spiritual gift, and it's not something to be proud of. I'm just admitting to you that I can worry. When money's low and bills are high, I worry. When people aren't just all hunky-dory in life, I can worry. I can worry for you if you want me to. I'm pretty good at it, right? Not something to be good at. But here's what I think this link to this text is saying here. There's something really, really special that happens in my life and your life when I divorce religion and I marry relationship with Jesus. When my prayer life is not me talking to some celestial, distant God that really doesn't care about me, that's lending just a little ear, but I'm talking to my daddy. who loves me more than life itself, who does not want me to hurt, wants what's best for me in all things, would never lead me astray, who is so glad that I ran to him. Something tragic happens when you become a religious person, and it's all of something distant, and it's not something that's personal. But something spectacular happens when all of a sudden I have a personal relationship with my Heavenly Father. And my prayer life changes because I'm not just using the these and the thous and making it sound pretty. I don't care what it sounds like. It may be, God help, I need you. When I talk to Him, in this prayer, I believe as David knows, he's not talking about the these and the thous. He's saying, God, I need you right now. My nation's crumbling. I need you so bad. And I got to start with me. Would you search me, God? Would you try me? Would you show me what's going on? He's talking to his daddy. How's your prayer life today? He doesn't just say, read my motives. He says, read my mind. And God knows when you're troubled about things. And He knows when you're worrying about things. And He knows that's not what's best for you. And those are the times when I feel that way. I need to run to Him. Find my refuge in Him. Find my comfort in Him. He didn't equip me to carry burdens. He wants to carry them for me. And so, evaluate me. Examine me, evaluate me. Number 3, write this down. Lord, expose it to me. Now, let's just be honest. It's probably not that difficult for somebody in the room to say, you know, I'm going to pray. And by the way, women, you're not off the hook today because this works for you too. Or just if you thought you got the day off, no. This works for you too. I didn't get to preach on Mother's Day, so let's just all get in here together because every bit of this works for you too, okay? We'll beat the guys up today, but this will work. It takes a little bit of courage to say, God, okay, examine me. Maybe a little bit more to say, okay, you've examined me, now tell me what's going on. But it takes a man, a real man, a man of God, to say, God, you expose to me what you have found. That's tough. Because men are prone to want to hide things, right? Gentlemen, what are you looking at on the internet? What have you got hidden up in your closet somewhere, out in the garage somewhere that nobody knows anything about? By the way, God knows all things. You've not hidden anything from Him. You're playing some crazy game with yourself. It's like the person, I got to just say, it's like the person riding in their car with their mask on by themselves. What are you trying to do, protect yourself from yourself? I'm sorry. I saw someone swimming in a swimming pool the other day with their mask. What? Come on now. I'm not trying to be mean at all. This is serious. God, expose what you find to me. You willing to pray that prayer, gentlemen? Are you? What you're thinking about, what your eyes are looking upon, what you're acting on in your life. God, if I'm out of kilter in any area of my life, expose it to me. Bring it to my attention. Man, that's a tough prayer. He says this, and see if there's any hurtful way in me. God, when you're evaluating my life, when you're examining my life, if you see something, bring it to my attention because I need to deal with it. And again, we're not talking about just living life. We're talking about living this life as men the way God designed you to do it. He's looking for a few good men. And you're not good in yourself. You'll only be good in Him. But if you'll expose yourself to Him and allow Him to be the person He wants to be in your life, it's amazing what He will do through your life. Expose it to me. David's not playing games. Game time's over. This is not just a flippant prayer. Oh, God, if you get a minute, could you just examine my heart? And if it's okay, you can evaluate that a little bit. But no. If you find something, I want to be the first to know. Years ago, I went for a physical. That's why I probably never go to physicals anymore. I had this physical. Tracy will remember this. And they took all these crazy things. I hadn't been in so long, I guess they checked me from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And all kinds of x-rays and all this crazy stuff. They said, we'll be in touch. And And they sent me something that said they may have found something that didn't look right in one of the scans they did in my abdomen area or something. And they said, we'll be in touch. And a week went by, and another week went by, and another week went by. And I'm prone to go, well, it's probably must have been anything. But Tracy's like, you need to call and check on that. And so I called, and they said, oh, yeah, can you come back in? We need to do another scan. I'm like, well, when were you going to give me this good news, right? Y'all know me. What did I do immediately? I started worrying, didn't I? Over something I have no control over. And I go back for the scan, all worried about what's going to happen. Praise God, it was nothing. The point is simply this. Are you willing to really let God expose everything in your life? God, if you find something, I need to know it. Are we not sometimes let's just be honest, I just don't want to know. In fact, it's okay, God, if you search me. It's okay if you find something. I don't want to know. And the truth of the matter is, you probably already knew before you even prayed the prayer. Expose it to me. Examine my life. Evaluate what you see, and then bring it to my attention. Show me, God, what's going on. Show me if there's any wickedness, any hurtful way in me. One last thing and we're done. Lord, escort me. Escort me. And see if there's any hurtful way in me. And finally, these words, and lead me in the everlasting way. We're going to review this in a minute. But again, God, would you examine my life? Would you evaluate my life? Would you expose anything that you see? But here's what I need you to do now. Show me where to go. Show me what's next. Give me the courage to follow you, right? A couple things. Write these down and we're almost done. Number one, first thing we have to do, by the way, lead me is to go before me. Show me the way. First thing we have to do, gentlemen, this morning, if we're going to let God do this, is number one, admit that we can't get there on our own. If there's anything I've said today, I want to make sure you lock in on it's that. You need to hear me real quickly. You will never be everything God's called you to be by yourself. There has never been accomplished, not even one time, short of Jesus Christ himself, someone who lived, he didn't even do it, but he could have. But the point is simply this. No one has ever accomplished becoming everything God called them to be by themselves. Lone rangers do not make it in the body of Christ. You might not like that. Tough. You can't do it on your own. So gentlemen, if you think you can just pray a simple prayer and just explain it away and say that I did my favor to God for the day, that's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about being willing to say, God, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, and that's going to start with me. And I cannot lead my family to be everything they need to be if I'm not the man I need to be. And so, God, here's what I need you to do. I need you to search me and try me and see if there's any wickedness in me. And then I need you to lead me in the right direction. You need to help me deal with what I've got in my life that doesn't belong, and then you need to help me go forward, right? Rule number one, you won't do it by yourself. Many, many, many have tried, and 100% have failed, and so will you if you try to do this on your own. And so the first thing I got to do again is allow God. I got to admit that God is going to get me through this. I will not do it on my own. Proverbs chapter 14 verse 12 tells us this. There is a way which seems right to a man, but the end result thereof is the way of death. If you think you're going to do this on your own, you're on a fool's errand, and it will end in death. It will end in the place you do not want to be. So number one, if I'm going to walk through this process, men or women in this room, I've got to admit this. I can't do this on my own. I need help. You need help from God, and you need help from your brothers and sisters in Christ. You need to be in church. You really do. And often people call me and complain about what's going on in their life, and I ask them a simple question. When have you been to church? Are you in a small group? We don't do that just for fun. We don't do that because it makes sense. Let's just have some small groups. You know why we do that? Because it works. And I need that, and you need that in your life. And I've never done anything on my own that was worthwhile in this life, and I never will. I need you. And you need me. And with God's help, He can walk us through these things. And so admit that we can't get there on our own. Number two, allow God the permission to control your destiny. Not be the co-pilot, but hand Him the keys. Not give Him, here's 3 suggestions, God, I have for you about where I think I need to be in life, and I'll just let you choose, but as long as it's on my list, right? No. It's when you say, God, here I am. Send me. What would you have me do, God? I can't do this on my own. I need other believers and I need you, God, but I'm going to allow you to take control of my destiny. Wow. That takes some courage, doesn't it? Psalm 5, verse 8, I love this. David prayed this prayer, O Lord, lead me in your righteousness because of my foes, and make your way straight before me. And so I had to really sit down and think about this. We know this passage well. You've studied this passage before. It's not foreign to you at all. But I really think there's three things that David ultimately was asking God to do here. So let's talk about those and we're done. Number one, God, I want you to know me. Everybody in the room, we probably are willing to pray a prayer like, God, I really want to know you. But are you willing to say, God, I want you to know me? Because often we put our guard up, don't we? We say, God, you can have this area of my life and this area of my life, but you can't have my wallet, and you can't have what's on my computer, and you can't have what's hidden in my closet. You can have these things, though. Feel free, right? Except for these areas. David realizes they're in a mess, and if they're going to get out of this, it's going to start with him and then extend to all the others. But the point is simply this: are you willing to say, God, I want you to know me through and through, everything? We all know we're not keeping secrets, but somehow we think we are. Right? David says, you know what? I want you to know me. Right? Number two, God, I want you to cleanse me. It's a big step. God, I want you to really know everything about me, and I want you to see if there's anything in me that doesn't belong there, and I need you to help me with something. I need you to forgive me. I need you to cleanse me, because you'll never be the man God's called you to be. You'll never be the father you're called to be. You'll never be anything you're called to be walking around with sin in your life. And by the way, let me make sure you hear this. We all sin. We all fall short every single day. Y'all know my philosophy. I say every single hour. Might even go, if you want to every single minute. Everybody thinks something they shouldn't think, says something they shouldn't say quite frequently. So we daily need to be cleansed of that sin. We daily need to be asking God's forgiveness in our lives. Not to be saved, but because we've been saved and we want to walk in holiness before Him, right? And I can't do that without Him. And so God, I want you to really know me through and through. I want you to cleanse me. And then I want you to direct me. And so you're here this morning. Are you willing to pray a prayer like that? That's tough, isn't it? Any man in the room could pray a simple prayer like this: God, I really want to be a good man, so just, help me. That's great. Are you willing to get down to the nitty-gritty? Are you willing to be super honest with God, transparent with God, super sensitive to personal sin in your life? It's not going to be here much longer, right? Life is so brief. And so I want to walk it clean. I want to finish well. I know you do too, gentlemen. Here's how we do it. God, I want you to know me. And I want to know you. I want to have a relationship with you. I don't want it to be some distant religious activity in my life. I just want to be with Daddy. And there's times I'm going to need to climb up in your lap like I did when I was a little boy, and you're going to help me through some things. There's some times that we just need to have a good talk. I really want to know you, and I really want you to know me. I got some things in my life, God, that need to be corrected, and I've tried to do it myself and failed a million times. I've got these habits in my life. They're not good. I know they're not good. And so I've tried, but I'm going to let you do what only you can do. And so, God, expose to me those things that need to be taken care of. And would you help me with that? Because I can't forgive myself. Only you can help me. I got nowhere else to go. Thank you for being there. God, once you've straightened me out for the millionth time in my life, and I know there's going to be more, but once you've straightened that out, I need you to show me a different way. I need you to help me know where to go and how to go and what to say and what not to say. And I just want to be the man you've called me to be. It's a privilege to be a daddy. I found out what my dad told me a long time. It's even a greater privilege to be a granddaddy. That's even more better, as they say in Mississippi. It's more better. But if I'm going to be the example I need to be for my children and for my bride and for this church and for the people I encounter in life every day and for the next generation, listen to me, this world will not get fixed because the government in Washington figures something out. They're just going to make it worse. If you're relying on the government to fix all your problems, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you're going to be very unsatisfied with how that turns out. But God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly more than we can even fathom. And He can fix you, and He can fix me, and He can straighten out this world. But it'll only be as we yield ourselves completely to Him. Men, be men. Do not apologize, and be a man of God. You'll never regret giving Him control of your life. And maybe there's a prayer you need to pray this morning that somehow comes into this circle of things. God, show me what's messed up about me. Remind me, because I probably already know. But a good nudge would be okay. And then give me the courage to deal with it. And would you show me where I need to go next? I want to be that kind of man. So let's pray. Father, none of us in this room have ever accomplished anything in our own power that was worth a dime. Forgive us for continuing to go to that well, trying once again to straighten ourselves out. We can't do that. We need help that only comes from you. And so, God, I pray that every man in this room will be able to pray a prayer something like this. God, would you search me? Would you try me? Would you show me if there's any wickedness in me? And then would you help me deal with it? Would you guide me to the proper solution? I pray all across this room, and those that would hear this on Facebook or YouTube or on the radio, God, that they would take serious this call to get clean before God. That will only happen as we yield ourselves completely to you. Thank you, God, that you are here, that you really do care, that you see the future just as clearly as you can see the past. And God, I wish that we could just get a glimpse of what you know we could be if we would take this challenge this morning. The husband we could be, the father we could be, the employer that we could be, the citizen we could be, if we allowed you the freedom in our lives to do what you want to do. I'm so thankful, God, to declare that we know that you're for us, not against us. That if you want something for us, God, it will always be what's best. And Lord, our motive behind everything that we're praying right now is that we would be a greater example to this world of the difference that you have made in our lives. That the spotlight of our life, God, would shine completely on who Jesus is, simply because you're worthy. So God, give courage to the men in this room and the ladies in this room, God, because this isn't an off day for them. They know this works for them too. And so give us the courage, God, to be willing to open our hearts to you and to receive what you have in return. This is your church, God. These are your people. This is your moment. It's your time. So have your way, we pray. In Christ's name, amen.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, God. I love your voice. You will lead me through the fire, and in darkest night, you were close like no